Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel's Strike Force. If you caught my video from yesterday, then you'll have known that the changes to Knull are in. And so once we get to Saturday and Zone 6, it's going to be of the utmost paramount to do as much damage to him as possible, to whether you're unlocking D4, going from D3 to D4, or you're going from D4 to D5, it's going to be really important to do the best that you can. So the contents of today's video is we're going to be talking about all of the best plug and play characters that you can use against Knull. I'm also going to give some suggestions for some team compositions that you can use, whether you're at the low end of the game, you're at the mid-range, or you're a veteran player. There should be something for you in this video. But we're also going to be reviewing Raycon everyday earbuds in this video, and special shout out to Raycon for sending me these to test out here as well in today's video. So if you're ready to go, everybody, you know what to do. Let's boil this down. All right, and here are the contents. I did want to do a little bit of an unboxing for you guys here. Now, excuse my table. It's very rare that you actually get to see something like this in a video of mine, but this was the contents of inside the two boxes here. You can see that I actually got the Galaxy protective case, so that's actually kind of what's already on my Raycon earbuds here right now. And you can see the shell, the lid, that's over here, and inside was a USB to USB-C cable, as well as some extra earbuds you can see here of different sizes as well to fit your ears too. Now, some standout features of the everyday earbuds is that they're active noise canceling. This is really good, you know, to make sure that, well, the only thing you hear is the sound that you're looking for. They're also dust proof and water resistant. This is really nice as well, just in case. They do also charge like 10 minutes, pretty quickly. Like 10 minutes of charging is around an hour and a half of use, and they're pretty affordable. So if you're looking for something new to pick up, these would be for you. All right, everybody, and we're going to be covering some what I'm going to call plug and play characters that are used in a lot of different Knull team comps here in no particular order. But the first one that I want to start off with is Black Knight. Now, for newer and mid-game players, I still feel that Black Knight is a character that you should be leveling up. He is still a very strong character. He is part of Out of Time, which is actually required for Old Man Logan still, and even in Battle World, you're still using him. So there's a lot of reasons why you still need to build Black Knight, even as a plug-and-play standalone character if you're not doing much else. He also is very, very important right now to a lot of compositions against Knull, and a lot of that has to do with his passive. And it's because of these kind of these mechanics to clear all barrier, and that's what he does. Such a long kit. This part right here, right? Clear all barrier when he gets attacked, essentially. Clear all barrier on that enemy and attack that enemy for 30% of this character's max health. That part's not super important, but the fact that it clears all barrier, and when you get to D3, D4, and eventually when we get to D5, I honestly think that he's still probably going to be valuable there, is that the barrier amount that he's clearing is just a lot. And so as long as he's surviving a lot, as long as he has those charges, he's clearing Knull, because Knull's, you know, because usually you're wave clearing and all that, so there's not a lot of enemies left. Usually that he's retaliating and he's attacking Knull and clearing his barrier, which is so important, because he, like, once he puts that up, Black Knight then retaliates right after to clear it all. So there's a lot of compositions that we're going to be talking about in this video that is going to include Black Knight for this video. All right, Black Knight in this video. As far as how high you should build him, I think he's past the time of building of buying diamonds, honestly. But I do think that he's a character that you should at least bring him up to gear tier 18, level 95, in my opinion. If you want to go higher and you have resources for that, great. I think he may be a little bit past that since he's not in the arena meta anymore, but at least a 95 G18 I think is reasonable at this point in time. The second one that I want to talk about, and this is probably a no-brainer if you've heard any videos, seen any videos over the last couple of weeks, Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan is absolutely insane, and this is because of his bleed, his ability to do bleeds in general. But he does have, you know, he's really fast, he puts out trauma, he wave clears, honestly, with his ultimate, so there's a lot of things that Old Man Logan can do. And so, realistically, it just comes down to him being an OP as hell character. You know, once you get his claws out, he just does, this clears barrier as well, you know, but it just does so much. This attack not only clears barrier, but it also just wave clears entirely. So it's just such a strong attack here. And then the amount of bleeds he just puts out on a regular basis on his regular attack, like even his basic does 2 bleed for 2 turns. And so we're going to get into some of these like extension bleed teams, which is just absolutely crazy. If this, I don't know if this is necessarily going to carry into D5, the bleed kind of teams that we've been seeing. However, I do think that Old Man Logan probably is going to maintain his slot in the top 15 because that's how many characters that you can use for Knull because it's 3 teams of 5. So I have, without a doubt, I think Old Man Logan is still going to make it onto these teams for a while. So just absolutely crazy. And he definitely is worth getting 7 yellow, 7 red. All right, and this one we're moving up a little bit more because not everyone is necessarily going to have Mephisto. I understand. There is about, I would say about, I want to say it was 25,000 or something like that players that had Mephisto. My alt accounts had him for about 3 weeks now, and so I think it's a reasonable inclusion in this video here. But you'd be surprised as to why he's actually included, and again, it comes down to the bleeds. The amount of bleeds that he does is actually you're using the basic more than you're using his other skills. You can use his ultimate to do wave clearing and things like that if you need to, but his basic, especially as him as a striker, he's putting out 2 bleeds for 2 turns. Hey, that's the same as Old Man Logan, right? But the amount of damage that his bleeds do are very high and almost always hitting the damage cap. So that's really important too. He also does have the Mark of Mephisto, right? Wherever the hell that's, I don't even know where that's outlined. I think it's on his ultimate. The Mark of Mephisto, how that gives barrier to all allies of 5% of his max health every single turn on any turn, right? So this is really important. And they finally actually fixed the 50% drain and armor while Mark of Mephisto's up. This was broken for a long time, but it actually did eventually get fixed like less than a month ago. So I'm glad that they finally did that. And so this makes him even more valuable kind of as a support protector. I mean, he's not really tanking, but like he's giving the barrier out and keeping people alive a lot longer. So that's really important too. And his ability to throw out trauma. You just don't probably, depending on what composition you're using him with, probably don't want to use the special too frequently because it is applying taunt to specific hero characters. So do keep that in mind. You don't really need to use the basic. I think you're just kind of alternating between the ultimate and the basic to put out more bleeds out. So that's really important. There, Mephisto, a character that goes on a lot of teams that we're going to talk about soon. And now I do want to give one surprising mention. We're going to be talking about this when we get to the full teams. This one might be really good if you don't have a lot of high-end characters. So this is going to be for the people who have Apocalypse, things like that, because you kind of need to build Red Hulk to about G17 anyways to get big Apocalypse unlocked or finished. And so why Red Hulk is really good is actually related to his battlefield effect, gamma radiation. So this one has been really surprising and pretty impressive, especially for mid-game accounts. I've been using this in a couple of combinations I'm going to show you that I've been using for my alt account. But the gamma radiation basically is every time that Knull takes a turn, it's going to be applying 3 bleed to him. Now, I'm pretty sure that the damage that it does, this kind of stuff, and the damage that the bleeds are based on Red Hulk. So if you do build Red Hulk bigger, the bleeds should last longer. But the fact that once you apply this battlefield effect to the field, it's lasting forever, basically until the match ends. So anytime that Knull takes a turn, which is quite frequently, because especially later in the match, he's going very, very fast, that he's taking this bleed damage every single time he takes a turn. And so it's an easy way to kind of stack up more damage, even if you don't have a lot of different characters at your disposal. So this is something that I do want to point out that maybe not everyone is going to use, but this is definitely a good tactic, I think, for more mid-game players. So something that I wanted to point out is Red Hulk. All right, and that brings us to the save squad part of the video. Now, there would have been a lot of other probably plug and play. Kahori would be the next one, honestly, that I would add to this when she comes out in like 2 weeks' time. That Kahori is going to be an insane plug and play character. So anytime in the future, when there's another video like this, Kahori will be added to that list because she's going to be absolutely bonkers. If you haven't checked out her kit on the blogs online, I definitely would do so. Now, this is going to be a lot of different teams. So some of these are going to be new player friendly, some of them are not. And so I just wanted to do something for everyone. So I think that there will be a lot of different teams in here. Obviously, without a doubt, Astral is... So I'm kind of skeptical, actually. We'll see come Saturday, once I have Shadow King, how that actually does in relation to some of the other teams that have performed extremely well. I've also heard that there is an exploit or bug related to the 4 Astral currently right now. I've seen some stuff in my Discord server where people were posting like 600 million damage figures. Like, I'm not even joking, where they said that they did 4 Astral with Odin, they put it on auto, and then it just broke the game or something. So I don't know if that's still happening. Maybe try that on Saturday, right? Like, do a semi-auto, stare at your screen, see if it's broken still. And I know this is not free to play, so I'm not saying that everything in this list is free to play. As far as the damage numbers that I got, legitly, I guess, from Astral 4 wasn't that impressive. However, I did end up including Old Man Logan as my 5th character because I decided to do some different variations of the team. Now, the second thing that I do want to talk about is a team that's been making the rounds. This has been a very popular team among veteran rosters. who are able to push out huge bleed numbers. Now, this is Old Man Logan, Black Knight, Omega Red, Adam Warlock, and Mephisto. It's just an absolute, it's honestly just intended as a bleed team. You're using the basic on Adam Warlock, which extends negative status effects, including bleed as well. And then I believe that Omega Red's basic does extend bleed as well. And then you have Black Knight to clear the barrier. You have Old Man Logan for more bleeds. I believe you have him as a skirmisher though to make sure that that's always there. And then Mephisto adding more bleeds too on his basic. So just an insane bleed team that I've seen some huge numbers, anywhere from 200 to 300 million damage. It's absolutely crazy. The only thing that I do want to point out is that Adam Warlock and Omega Red are not new player and mid game friendly. They are not characters that you should be raising up. And I would caution people doing that just for this in the event that they do nerf bleeds later on. Or it's just not as effective once you get to D4 and D5, because we haven't had Saturday yet for the D4 Knull boss fight. So just a word of caution about that. I wouldn't go too far out of your way on this, but a lot of veterans would have him up to like 90, 95, and so pushing it up a little bit more is not really that big of a deal. I'm not personally using this team, but I might give it a test on Saturday just to see how it does. Now, as far as newer character teams go, Spider Society is still probably one of the most consistent teams, I would say. You know, there's different variations. I actually do think the Spider-Man Noir is better than Ghost Spider as far as like when you use a 4-person variation of the team. There's some other variations, including Spider Society Old Man Logan. So again, dumping Ghost Spider if you have nowhere else better to use your Old Man Logan. There is Spider Society Black Knight. Again, a lot of these plug-and-play characters that I've been talking about, you could probably also use Mephisto in there. You know, a lot of these kind of like filler type of characters. And I do want to kind of point out that this was from one of my other videos where I did some testing. Right over here, all this stuff is Spider Society. And you can see how the various damage differences were depending on who I used. So Spider Society, Old Man Logan was the best, then Black Knight, and then you had the full team. And then Odin surprisingly did less than the full team, which is absolutely insane. So Spider Society is a very consistent team that if you need something to use, then that's going to be for you. Extreme X-Men, again, under the same lines as like a raid team that the sustain is pretty good. Extreme X-Men, Old Man Logan, I'm going to say apparently puts out huge numbers, at least not as huge as some of the other ones above, but pretty, you know, pretty good numbers for people who are wanting to use this team. There's a lot of inconsistencies with Extreme X-Men. I feel like they're almost always at death's door. At least that was from my experience from testing. Maybe others were different. It is something that is auto-friendly, I think, though. So if that's all you care about and you just want to put a team on auto, I think you could do it with this team. You just want to be careful about like dying and how much damage that you do end up doing. So take that with a grain of salt. I haven't done as much testing with Extreme X-Men as I did with Spider Society. Now, this team is something that I have been using myself and also been using on my alt account with a variation of this. And this is what I called the Red Hulk, APOC, Black Knight, Mephisto, and then this one has Leader, and then my alt account version, I used Thanos Endgame for more bleeds. So this one was quite interesting because it's the same kind of principle of applying the gamma radiation battlefield effect and just prolonging the fight and living longer by also applying bleed. This one does not require Adam Warlock or Omega Red, so I think this is better for people who, you know, are newer, you know, their accounts are newer, that they never really bothered with those characters. And the reason why I put Leader in there is because of the synergy with villain characters. And so it does actually keep not only actually Red Hulk because he's Gamma too, but also APOC and Mephisto alive a lot longer. And then also Leader does have a lot of villain buffs on his passive that makes this quite good. I didn't have Leader built that high on my alt account though, so I decided to go with a Thanos Endgame version just to add some more bleeds on his basic and things like that. And he is kind of quote unquote farmable now, slowly, and so he is quite beefy for. He's probably one of the better newer characters because of his beefiness and also his ability to apply bleeds. So keep that in mind as well. Some other ones that I want to talk about is going to be the Illuminati team. I know people don't like talking about Captain Britain. It's a really sore subject right now, but Captain Britain is or was free to play available. Like if you wanted Captain Britain, if you cared enough about Captain Britain, you'd probably have him, in my opinion. And so I do want to include him on here. It's not that powerful of a team, however. I did do some testing. A lot of this was Odin, and actually didn't really make that much of a difference. Odin is a weird character. That's why I'm not even really including him in this video. Illuminati is a safe team. It's not a very strong team, though. So if you don't have a lot of options, this is something for you. And I decided to do a Penny Doctor Strange version. So you're not using Mr. Fantastic because his assists don't work. But Doctor Strange, if you don't have the rest of the Astral team, you could still use him standalone because his basic still works for the percent damage. And Penny has some callouts for hero characters and for, I want to say tech allies as well, something like that. Or maybe it's hero allies. Maybe it's all allies. honestly, but it did really well because if you're not using this is only if you're not using Spire Society. So if you're not using Spire Society, you can consider something like this. Otherwise, you could exchange Penny for another hero character, which will synergize with Hank. But you do want to keep kind of this threesome here because that's going to be your best bet there. Alternatively, I have actually tested Orcus on my alt account, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The problem with the Orcus team, you would think that they would do very, very well, but the problem is that Lady Deathstrike doesn't really get to take advantage of bleeds all that well because usually it's just Knull left over. And so she doesn't have the ability to chain around the board a lot to extend on her ultimate to, go back and forth a bunch to get more bleeds out on Knull. So that's the only problem there. But it's still not the worst team. So again, these are kind of like if you don't have as many options. If you're a mid game player that's been focusing on raid teams, that kind of thing, then your Spider Society, your Orcus, your Extreme X-Men are going to work pretty well. It's just you'll want to include some of the other characters I mentioned earlier on this video that'll help you be able to push your numbers a little bit higher. So do keep that with a grain of salt. I did not test Night Stalkers. So let me know in the comments down below how you did with them. I never got a chance to use them. I don't even have Oath and Man thing built up on my main account, so I have not been able to test that myself. I think that their cooldowns are a bit high, especially with Agatha, and I don't know if they'd have the sustain to keep going. I don't know if Drain would be personally enough to keep you going. But hey, if you did some really good numbers on Night Stalkers, let me know what kind of variations you used for that team. So there was a bunch of teams here, and I think there's some pretty good ones here. Everything on this list are things that I currently use. But of course, I'll be looking to test some more things this weekend on D4 Knull, so keep an eye out on the channel for those kind of videos too. All right, everybody, and that brings us towards the end of the video here, and I do want to just do a final kind of review of the Raycon Everyday Earbuds, which I understand, yeah, it is a little bit hard for you guys to see because of my long hair. But what I do like is that it actually does stay into the ear canal quite well here. Also, really like the protective case. It's really cool looking, and I really like the design quality of them. Also, the sound obviously is really great. So I know that we don't play Marvel Strike Force with a lot of sound these days. But for those of you who are, using it on your phone when you're playing or just watching stuff, it doesn't even have to be Marvel Strike Force related. These are some really good quality noise canceling earbuds that, are affordable, like I said in the beginning. So definitely something that you should check out. Now, before we end the video here today, though, I do want to make a special mention that Raycon is having their Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals upcoming, and the deals are pretty amazing. So Raycon is offering up to 30% off their top products, including the everyday earbuds and more, plus free shipping at checkout. Don't miss out and click on my link in the description down below or in the pinned comment to grab these amazing deals before they're gone. And of course, I want to give a final thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.